And I'm making it for an 18-inch pillow. So I'm gonna have this, the short length of the fabric be 18 inches. And the long length, I just left it the whole length, the 44 inches that they have at the fabric store, because I can just fold it over a little more. So I think in the blog post I wrote something like 39 or 38. It doesn't have to be exact. And if you use just the dimensions off the bolts, you don't have to finish the edges. Got this long piece, and we're gonna fold the edges over so that this from here to here folded is 18 inches. So when you're folding it, I would just fold it to whatever the width of your pillow insert is. So we're just cutting strips about 1.5 inches. And now I'm just gonna lay these out. So I'm actually gonna open this up so that when we pin, we don't accidentally pin to that side, to the back. So we ironed it down, so that should be our guide when we're decorating. So this is the front. The part in the back is folded. It's the back. And now I'm just gonna start sewing them. So I'll probably start, when you have a cluster like this, I just start at the topmost one and kind of go from there. Or I go from where I know it's gonna be, it's a good place to transition to the next step. So I might start from about here, and then I'll sew it around. And I'm gonna sew kind of a narrow hem. Oops, that wasn't right. I'm gonna sew kind of a narrow seam allowance, like 1/8 seam allowance if that's possible, which is about half the distance from the needle to the presser foot. So kind of lining up to right here on the presser foot. And I'm just gonna use a regular straight stitch, back stitch at the front and back. And if you are nervous about going too fast, and you have a machine like this that you can control the speed, this is a good time to use it. But I think we can handle it, and even if it's not perfect, I'm not too concerned. So you just kind of go around and sew. When you get to the corner, let your needle be down, press your foot up, and turn it around. And then I like to slow down, you know, 1 or 2 stitches from where when we're gonna get to the end, and that way you can control that it stops the right distance from the edge. And then we go do that, turn it. This is not too bad. The most complicated thing you are doing with this step is just not letting the fabric bunch up underneath. So we're just kind of sewing these on. They will unravel a tiny bit, but since it's a holiday throw pillow, it's not going to get manhandled that much. My Valentine's Day ones are a few years old, and they just have just a small amount of fraying on it, which I think is cute. So if the fraying gets too big, I would just kind of trim it down. You can always put fray check on it too, which is kind of like a glue. But I kind of like that look. Okay, so now instead of cutting it, I'm just gonna pull the thread over here and go on to the next one. And then I will back stitch just so it stays in place. So I just kind of go through and I just kind of trim it up. So let's see how big that's going to be. Maybe about 7 inches. Let's see what Love was. I like the proportions of this one. Love was about 7 and 2.5-ish. Okay, so 7 and 2.5-ish are what we're thinking for the word. Let me show you how to do that real quick. Okay, let me grab my computer, put it on the table so you can see. So this is just some iron-on vinyl. It's not the same as scrapbooking vinyl, so make sure that you get the right stuff if you're buying some. I'm going to cut it to 8 inches by 3 inches so that it gives us a little border buffer around the edge. Let's see, how do I want it? I want it like this. Like that? No, like this. Okay. Doesn't matter what side we're cutting through here, but this is easier to get my angle. Okay, so our design was 7 by a little over 2.5. So I cut our piece to 8 by 3. And now I have the sticky mat that you use with the cutting machine. I'm using the Cricut Explore Air 2 today. And you can see that this vinyl has this super shiny side and this kind of more matte side. So the shiny side is actually plastic, and that's going to help you transfer it to your fabric project. So we want to cut through the vinyl side. So we're going to put the plastic side down, and we're going to line it up, and we're going to put it on like that. Pretty easy, right? Okay, we open it, turn it on, and then we'll go back to the computer. And now this program, it comes with the machine, so it's not like you have to buy anything separate. It's kind of all together. And I'm just going to cut this layer. So I'm going to reverse it because we are cutting through the back. So we need the picture mirror image. If you're cutting vinyl, you need to mirror image it unless your design doesn't matter. And then we have this set right here to iron on. And then we hit go, and it thinks for a second. And then you tell it which machine to use, since I have my old one in there still. And it thinks, and then it says to set the dial. I showed you how we set it. And then it has this arrow, it flashes. And you line it up. See these notches? There's one on both sides. Just slide it under. You load it. And then this will flash when it's ready to cut. And once it flashes, we just push it. And it shouldn't take too long on this one because it's a pretty simple design. Okay. Okay, so unload. And that looks a lot better. Now we just peel it off. And we can turn our ironing pad again. Okay, so now we do what is called weeding. And that's pulling the negative space vinyl away from our design. And you just kind of, it's really kind of fun actually. You just kind of pull it off. And it comes off pretty easily. Especially if you use the vinyl setting. Then it leaves it so that you have the plastic. It will cut through the vinyl and not the plastic, which is super nice because then you can have everything positioned perfectly. So I'm just using this little tool. This is a Cricut tool. I've used a straight pin to do this step before, but I think that the tool pack is really worth it. So now I have this on hot. Depending on your vinyl, you'll probably want to check your settings, but if you're using a home iron like this, usually the hottest setting is what you want. Piece of parchment paper. This is just like what you bake cookies on. And I'm just going to go back over it. So now we're going to fold it on our, we already ironed our lines, remember? We're just going to fold it along that ironing line. And then we're going to sew it closed, and I'll show you how it turned out. It's going to be so cute. Okay, now make sure that these layers are either aligned or how you intend it to be. It doesn't have to be perfect. Okay, now I'm just going to serge it to finish the edges. This will make it a little more durable, although I don't think that you have to do this. Okay, and if you want to do this but you don't have a serger, you can certainly use a zigzag stitch on the sewing machine. This is the Valentine's Day one if you missed that one. So let's steal the insert from that and stuff it in the St. Patrick's Day one. I think it turned out way cute. Okay, so we're gonna stuff this one, and then we're gonna make another one slightly different. We're gonna make one that has some shamrocks and some four-leaf clovers. And in the process, I'm going to show you how you can cut the fabric on the cutting machine. Okay, so you just kind of stuff it in. And you can adjust this to fit any size pillow. So, pillow insert, or whatever you're using. Cute? Yeah? Cute, cute, cute. I like it. So have any of you guys used Heat and Bond before? It's this kind of paper stuff, and it has adhesive on the back of it. You can buy it at Walmart. You can buy it at a lot of places. Let me find it for you. So, it looks like this. Where did it go? Here it is. So the one I'm using is the heavy duty, the Ultra Bond stuff, but it comes in lots of different strengths. This one you can iron it on, and you don't need to sew it down, although we're going to, but mostly for looks. But they have lighter stuff that you can barely feel when you're using it. Or they have this heavier stuff, which leaves kind of like a small layer of thickness. So this has this kind of glue dried up on it. Did we do 2 of these when I was laying it out? I can't even remember. Maybe I'll do it just in case. Okay. So you just kind of lay it on the glue side. So the side that has the texture. The other side is paper. One side is paper, one side is texture. So you lay it on the texture side. And I like to just kind of pat it, like loosely iron it in place. And then I cut around it so that it won't wobble on us. It's not stuck. I mean, it's stuck in places, but not as good as we want it. So we'll move that out of the way. We're gonna do most of them in this guy, and let's see what size we are working with. So we can probably do 3 inches by 3 inches would be about the most I do. So to adjust the size, you go over here to edit, and then let's select the 3, and then hit go. And now it's showing you where it's laying out on the thing. So it's about 3.5 by a little over 3, which is fine. We can put it up and down like this. So now we're gonna, unlike the when we did the vinyl, we had that set to iron on vinyl because we only wanted it to cut the top edge. So this time we want it to cut through both. So I'm gonna set it to cardstock because I want it to cut through. And we'll see how that looks. So now we lined up this, and I'm going to slide it in, load it up, and I'm going to turn it to cardstock right now, just so I don't forget. And then over here, it doesn't matter which direction we go, but I want it to be consistent, so I'm just going to go with what it is. I'm going to click go down here, and it should start flashing for us when it's time. Another machine. Oh, you need a Cricut? They're really fun. I can't help you there. I love them. I have a few. Stephanie, I kind of was a late adopter to LuLaRoe, but I am loving it. The stuff is really comfy. Okay, so that was really fast. You can see it cut, and see how we did it on cardstock, so it'll cut completely through. And now we'll just pull it up. So normally I would use a scraper, but this works too. And you can see how it has the paper on the back. When we go to iron it, we're just gonna pull this off, and it has this glue now, and that's gonna iron it to the thing. So let's put our other guys on here and cut it out. By 4, we should be good. So let's go resize that. So remember, we go to edit, or actually edit, size 3. That should be good. Go. That one we already did. We click down to the second one. We can hit go. Let's line this up in the corner. Put it on our sticky mat. Load it. And then I'll just send it to the computer like we did, or from the computer like we did the last time. Super lightest weight, and because it has a paper back, it's going to make it easier for you to cut out on the machine. They even have stuff that will dissolve when you wash it, but I like having the adhesive part because that makes it stick to my project easier. Okay, so let's lay this out on our pillow and sew it on. Okay. So what we want to do is peel the paper off of the back. And see how it has that under there? If this were a lighter fabric, that might show through. So you just pay attention when you're layering things, because if it were white, it would totally have a little pink spot there. But since it's dark green, I'm not going to be worried. I'm going to put that right there over the bulk of the discoloring. Then peeling this one. I'm going to sew around. I'm just going to sew around, use the design as my template. And once again, since we use the Ultra Hold stuff, you technically don't have to do this step. This step is all for looks. It should hold it just fine even in the wash. But I think it does look cute having a little sewing line there. Okay, there we go.